In the shadows they gather, with their banners raised high, a song of defiance echoes beneath the sky. They rise up in the night with passion burning bright. We were dancing to the radio, spinning round in the glow, carried dreams on the wind to see our heroes begin. We'd shout, will they like the way, with courage shining bright today, holding hands through the fights and fears, together against the tide of years. Remember when the heart stood tall. In the heart they gather strong.
In our little town, so serene, where the grass is green, the air so clean. We gather round the table every night, joyful days, oh what a sight. With values passed, with generations past, living life with love that'll surely last. As the city lights look bright, we hold to our roots tight. In our hearts we sing those choirs, guided by the good old days. Sharing moments with friends always divine, working hard for what we seek, respecting each word we speak, holding dear to our family ties underneath these nostalgic skies. As the city lights so bright got too tight, in our hearts the same old fire. Oh, yeah. We sway with every change of time, but in our hearts old vows and soul that made baby in our heart, getting like a garden in this fast-paced world we could fight. Traditions keep our hearts going wild. But you're goodbye, and our hearts simple ways, we got it by the good old days.
Darkness on his mission, hear the call, take heed. Through the shadows, red wild winds blow. He's seeking the truth where few dare to go. John in the heart of the wild, John on a journey so styled, John in the heart of the Through the battles, through the night, He carries a flame, a guiding light for every soul that's searching for peace in his heart. May the sorrow cease. John in the heart of the wild, John on a journey so styled, John in the heart of the wild.
We stand firm in our belief.
Hold tight.
Through the times clearer we can see. Crazy world spinning round.
Stay grounded.
In our hearts simple truths agree. Whisper of freedom and liberty.
Rings true.
Our foundation strong and deep. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady path we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. In the story we've built for trust and
Never doubt.
time flies but we won't bend. Communists talk loud and fast.
Stay silent.
Our quiet strength is our reply. So salute to change but pause.
Reflect.
In unity our dearest friend. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady path we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. In shadows we find our light. Through chaos we stay upright.
Stay
With courage, faith on our side.
forever.
Standing firm, our guide. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady path we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. You grab your guitar, I'll take my stand. We'll shout it out loud, the freedom we claim. You lace up your boots, the night's just begun. Oh, we're singing for liberty, fighting for fun. Ain't no government leash, will let me be free. I'll follow my dreams, just you wait and see. They say we're all crazy, just rebels in line, but we'll raise our voices, you won't toe the line. Got my buddies beside me, we'll stand and unite. With every strum of the strings, we'll shine so bright. Let it try control, we'll just smile and wait. For the world that we want, we will surely bend. No, God, let's have your good trials, take my stand. We'll shout it out, Homer. You know, stars, man, shout it out, start us fight, sad, who will the freedom we claim. You lace up the boots, the night's just begun. While we're singing for liberty, fighting for fun. When the stars align, watch the night light up. With the rhythm of our hearts, we won't give up. Hold on tightly to our dreams in store. With passion and pride, we'll forever soar. Grab guitar, I'll take my stand. Walls, you started out loud, the freedom we plan. You lace up your boots, that night's just...
This is what we hold, values that keep us grounded still. Stand up for what is right, don't let the world make your will. Freedom and let's embrace this life our way. Tradition calls. If you don't stand firmly, hold it tight. If you let go of the reins, you'll miss your connection. So share a smile today in this community that we build. With love and respect, that's how our hearts can fill. We carry forward, we know our truth. In this great land, it's our time to move. If you want to stand firm in your lane in new direction, hold it tight. If you let go of the reins, you'll miss your connection. Let's hold on to our dreams and cherish every moment. With values intact, we trust in them. We find our hope. Tradition calls. If you don't stand firm in your lane, you lose your direction. Hold it tight. If you let go of the reins, you'll miss your connection.
Times are changing, feel the buzzing, staying true when they're fussing. Keep the flag a-flying through stormy nights. With the star-spangled banner, I stand tall with manners. Cross my heart with hope in sight. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and free, with liberty. Stick to values in the trends. Families gather, let's defend. Hold the line, keep the bond alive. Truth in our vision, in God we make decisions for our dream. True, thrive and strive. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and prairie, with liberty. We'll keep fighting for what's right, standing strong in the night. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and bravery, with liberty.
Everyone, and welcome to Culture-Rama tonight. It is so good to see everyone in the chat today, and it's going to be a wonderful stream. Thank you so much for everyone that has joined, and please, if you can, like and share the stream on Rumble so we can get the news out there as soon as we can, everybody. But God bless you. And on Culture-Rama, what we do on this show is we are trying to reclaim the zeitgeist of traditional Americana back into the United States, the one that we have lost so long ago with the induction of postmodernism in all major American institutions. And so what we are doing here on this show, with whatever that we can, whatever conversations that we can have, is to talk about it, is to talk about things that matter, and to talk about things that the mainstream news networks, the mainstream institutions, mainstream academia, and so forth, which we'll talk about today on the show, don't want you to have. And on this show, I like to say that we are free speech advocates, as well as major advocates for a lot of very, sometimes unpopular, but real ideas, everybody. So I want to thank everyone in the chat. I see the Bucks Nasty in the chat. Hello, Bucks Nasty. Thank you for joining. We also have Barney Styles as well. Lower viewership today, you guys. So let's try to get this stream out there as best we can. Tweet it, like it, share it. Copy the link, share it in all your group chats, and so we can get this party started here. Now, before I jump into all the major news stories today, I am talking about the birthright citizenship debate, which we'll touch on as we proceed forward. Leftists are going crazy. Mr. Pig is in the chat as well. Welcome, Mr. Pig. Leftists are going a little bit crazy about what the Trump admin is trying to do with the concept and definition of birthright citizenship. We're going to be talking about that. We will also be talking about higher education, my bread and butter, academia, Harvard specifically. The academic longhouse, you guys, is at it again. We're going to be talking about that as well. Apparently, Harvard doesn't want any white people in their administration. What is that going to look like in the future? Stay tuned and we'll talk about that. As well as many other topics, everyone. Did anyone see James Comey's Instagram post today? Pretty interesting. 8647 was his post. For those that don't know, what does that exactly mean? Is it a cryptic message? And of course, a little bit more serious, but in the news, the killers of Jamie White the suspects have been found. And so we're going to be talking about that. And for those that don't remember who Jamie White is, he was that InfoWars reporter that was mysteriously killed as of, I think, a couple months ago. I talked about it quite extensively on this show. We went over the case. Well, Alex Jones has just released the information of the suspects. And they were caught and being questioned right now. And let's just say that they're not exactly the most American looking individuals. So we're going to be talking about that and more. So please, everyone, stay tuned tonight on Culturama. And hello, Steffi. I see Steffi in the chat as well. Welcome. And Evan Rowan, thank you so much for joining us today. So please, like I said, like and share the stream. Before I get into the big news, everyone, and I want to jump directly into the birthright citizenship debate. But before I do that, I want to ask you guys something, okay? I want to show you guys a little story here. Where is my scene? There we go. So I found this. Jack Posobiec posted this, and he asked this simple question. What do we think, chat? Chat, what do you guys think? Where does Culturama fall on this chart? I already asked some people online about it. I posted about it. And for those who don't know what this is an all sides ex-influencer bias chart. Now, of course, unfortunately, Culturama isn't big enough to land on this chart yet. But the Culturama kingdom will soon commence, of course. But as you can see here, they have gathered all the major influencers or presumed influencers on X, and they aligned them on this chart here. We have the far left, two L's for losers left, the far left, the moderate or the lean left, moderate left, center, moderate right or those that lean right, and the far right, okay? And, on the left side, we have people like Ezra Klein, Hasanabi. Makes sense, right? Hasanabi, I put there. Paul Krugman, Steve Schmidt. Makes sense. On the moderate left, you have Andrew Yang. Brooklyn Dad Defiant is on there. Very interesting individual, Brooklyn Dad is. On the center, we have J.K. Rowling. Now, I don't think a lot of leftists would agree with that assessment, but regardless, we also have Lex Friedman in the middle, Richard Dawkins. But let's take a look at the far right, okay? And I want you guys to ask yourself, where do I and Culturama and everything that you've heard on this show, where do I land on here? On the far right, okay, we're talking the far right ex-influencers. We have Ben Shapiro. I don't know if you guys can see that. Ben Shapiro, Benny Johnson, Candace Owens, okay, she's kind of went her own way after leaving Daily Wire, fine. Charlie Kirk's far right. Okay, Dinesh D'Souza's on here, DC Drano, Glenn Beck, Hodge Twins, Jack Posobiec, Libs of TikTok is far right. I'm surprised they didn't put Russell Brand in there because he's in the moderate right. That's interesting. Dr. Phil has made it on the moderate right. Congrats. I love myself some Dr. Phil. I was actually watching Dr. Phil the other day. It was quite interesting. Megyn Kelly, Matt Walsh. I can see why any leftists would think Matt Walsh is far right. Megyn Kelly's on here somehow. Tommy Lauren, Tucker Carlson. I think that Daniela Pensac Culturama belongs on this list. What do you guys think? I think I belong on this list. And I truly think that they would put me on the far right column here. But Mr. Pig writes, Culturama is a moderate Republican show. Is it, Mr. Pig? I would agree with you. I would say that I'm probably more like center right, but something tells me that the mainstream political culture of the United States would not be so friendly to that notion. Now, I don't think I'm far right. I really don't. But a lot of people, I think. You guys ask yourself, do you think that you're a political individual who watches, what do people watch? Family Guy? You're a apolitical individual that watches Family Guy and Adam Sandler films. Perhaps if you would ask them this question and you showed them an episode of Culturama, what do you think they would say? Do you think that they would say that the things that I'm saying on this show and the things that I have said on this show actually makes sense? And a common sense, salt of the earth, American apolitical individual who once in a while votes in their, presidential elections, never participated in their local elections, would say that I have common sense, or would they say that I'm a crazy far leftist? I'm sorry, far rightist. What am I saying? I live in a far left area, so I'm thinking they would put me as like a crazy far right person. But I really think, and I would agree with you guys, I really think actually, now the more that I think about it, that average people, average Americans, those that are not politically involved or inclined or possessed by the political nature of the present cultural American zeitgeist, especially since Trump has come into office, would really gauge me as far right crazy, or even would gauge someone like what Charlie Kirk says, far right and, like radical. It's just not the case anymore. And as we have come to see in the last presidential election, that very well could be the case. Because it turns out a lot of the policies that Trump is pushing and a lot of the rhetoric that people that support him are pushing, or within our political circles, actually, it makes a little bit of sense. And I love to say that, and I love to hear that, because it tells me that people still have common sense. Far right these days is non-satanic heterosexual, writes Barney Stiles. Barney Stiles, that is absolutely correct. If you are a normal individual, also if you happen to be white and heterosexual, you are a radical. Thank you for my fellow radicals for joining into Culturama today and watching it. So let's pump those numbers up. Share and like the stream if you can. And also on Twitter, like the tweet, share it for all your friends. Let's, where's my other screen here? There we go. Let's share the stream and share and bump up those numbers, juice those numbers, everyone. I'm going to pull up my next few stories here. And what I will be talking about with you today, is Birthright Citizenship. I'm already reaching in the half-hour mark. So also after this show, we have the Liberty Tonight show playing after Culturama, so you may want to stay tuned for that. I did have an interview guest today, but they couldn't make it. I had to reschedule them for next week, Thursday, but I think you guys are going to enjoy that conversation. So next week, Thursday, we'll have them on. But in the meantime, everyone, it's just going to be me tonight here on Culturama. I'll be right back. I'm going to play your guys' favorite commercial. And in the meantime, let's share the stream, and I will be talking about, with you, Birthright Citizenship, everyone. Thank you for joining Culturama tonight.
Well, here comes Anita like Marilyn with a twist. She's got a master's degree and a style you can't resist. On Culturama, baby, we're shaking up the scene. So hit that like, make it click, you know what we mean. Like and subscribe, come on, don't delay. With Daniela at the helm, we're leading the way. It's Culturama, taking back tomorrow today.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors.
Mao ordered his citizens to throw off the four olds. Old thinking, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So, your whole life went in the garbage overnight, no biggie. And those who resisted were attacked by an army of purifiers called the Red Guard, who went around the country putting dunce caps on people. Yeah, who didn't take to being a new kind of mortal being.
If you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Well, things haven't been so sweet for Ben and Jerry's after the company posted an anti-American tweet, a few of them, on the 4th of July. The ice cream makers declared the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land.
Well, someone should tell Target that, because they're now selling swimsuits with tuckums in the women's section of the store. And they even have a line just for kids.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to Ben & Jerry's and ask them how they can live with themselves as they operate a multi-billion-dollar company on stolen land while declaring other people give up their so-called stolen land.
This is the child section. This is literally the kids section. I'm next to a literal onesie that says whatever the hell that means. We have "Glad You Came Out" and "I'm so happy that you're queer" in the kids section. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, but pride and toddler don't belong in the same sentence.
Good news! Starbucks will offer its workers reimbursement of travel expenses related to accessing abortion and gender-affirming procedures.
Kyle Rittenhouse was seen wearing a Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt, and they wanted to distance themselves from that individual. Key employees at the company also were donating to Democrats. Hafer doubled down on throwing many in his base under the bus, describing them as racist and a repugnant group of people.
Hey, Liberty lovers, stop scrolling, because if you're tired of the same old news, then I've got just the wake-up call for you. I want to thank you for tuning in to Culturama, and I know that you're enjoying every minute of it. Join us at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. The Wake Up America show is Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a great way to start your day. Coffee's optional, but waking up is mandatory. Remember, at Wake Up America, we'll keep you sharp, we'll keep you laughing, most of all, we'll keep you free. I'll see you in the morning.
Welcome back to Culturama, everyone. Let's open up with this video. Justice Kavanaugh's practical question if birthright citizenship ban took effect.
Birthright citizenship. 3 federal appeals courts have kept the order on hold, finding it very likely unconstitutional. President Trump argues the lower courts exceeded their authority. Now he's asking the Supreme Court to lift the injunctions or at least allow the administration to start planning for the change. So far, the justices have pressed the Trump administration's attorney on the potential impact of eliminating those injunctions, and Justice Brett Kavanaugh waded into the immediate consequences of the order going into effect.
On the day after it goes into effect, this is just a very practical question.
Just so you guys know, this hasn't exactly happened yet. Yes, Scotus is overlooking the potential changes that would happen if they change the definition of birthright citizenship, but it hasn't happened yet. You're still waiting on it, but Justice Kavanaugh is of course going to question about what would exactly happen, how would it look like in the everyday world if this were to occur. Of course, the Trump admin was already talking about this, and as we will come to see, with this presidential action protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship, this was posted on January. So this was a conversation that has taken place amongst the Trump administration and amongst his acolytes and his followers for a while now, but of course, we are now approaching the time where this very well could happen, but it hasn't happened yet. But yes, how would it look like if birthright citizenship was changed? Well, this is what Justice Kavanaugh is asking about. Let's take a listen.
How it's going to work. What do hospitals do with a newborn? What do states do with a newborn?
I don't think they do anything different. What the executive order says in Section 2 is that federal officials do not accept documents that have the wrong designation of citizenship from people who are subject to the executive order.
How are they going to know that?
The states can continue to, the federal officials will have to figure that out.
How?
So you could imagine a number of ways that the federal officials could.
Such as
they could require a showing of, documentation showing legal presence in the country. For a temporary visitor, for example, they could see whether they're on a B-1 visa, which would exclude kind of the birthright citizenship in that context.
For all the newborns? Is that how it's going to work?
Again, we don't know because the agencies were never given the opportunity to formulate the guidance. They would had 30
They're only
days.
going to have 30 days to do this. You think they can get it together in time?
They're under, that's what the executive order instructs them.
They're going to have to, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. Yes, it would be a complicated process, it sounds like, and, would be done within a limited amount of time. But once again, it is just one of those things that I think could be done within that time period, albeit, if we have the proper, how would I put this, consequences put into place if people don't follow through with it. But again, I'm also pretty sure that there would be leeway granted given that this would occur. But let's continue listening here.
Them to do, and hopefully they will do so. Again, it's a speculative and hypothetical scenario because they were enjoined from even starting that process.
And now the immigrant advocates' attorneys arguing against lifting the injunction. Let's bring in senior White House correspondent Selena Wang and constitutional lawyer Jeff Lewis for more. Jeff,
let's listen to what the experts have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare yourselves.
The scope of this hearing is limited to the injunctions, but some of the justices, like we just heard there, are also talking a little bit about the merits of the case at large. What do you make of that?
Well, none of the justices have touched the merits in terms of weighing in on whether or not they think the executive order is enforceable. Instead, they're asking the question about whether they need to discuss the merits in connection with the injunction. And I think at the end of the day, the opinion issued by this judge or by this court is not going to touch the merits of this case.
Selena, what?
It is a very complicated situation, but let's go through the actual history of this entire concept of birthright citizenship. Yes, Buck's nasty, exactly. Expert. By the way, welcome to the chat, Grizz Cheese. I see you in the chat. Welcome, howdy, time travelers. So this is a presidential action that was posted in January that I talked about. Protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. What exactly does this mean? Let's read it together, ladies and gentlemen. By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. The privilege of the United States citizenship is a priceless and profound gift. The 14th Amendment, and we will talk about the history of the 14th Amendment, but this is what the 14th Amendment states, that, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, unquote, okay? That provision rightly repudiated the Supreme Court of the United States' shameful decision in Dred Scott v. Sanford, which misinterpreted the Constitution as permanently excluding people of African descent from eligibility for United States citizenship solely based on their race. Of course, this was following, the era of slavery, and so there was a conversation about whether or not people of African descent should be considered U.S. citizens. But let's go forward. Let's proceed. But the 14th Amendment has never been interpreted to extend citizenship universally to everyone born within the United States. The 14th Amendment has always excluded from birthright citizenship persons who are born in the United States but not, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Consistent with the understanding, the Congress has further specified through legislation that a person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a national and citizen of the United States at birth, 8 U.S. Section 1401, generally mirroring the 14th Amendment's text. Among the categories of individuals born in the United States and not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the privilege of the United States citizenship does not automatically extend to persons born in the United States. Okay, so this is what we shouldn't consider. Number one, when a person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States, such is the case with many, let's just say, many immigrants in the country, especially for the southern border, And the father was not a United States citizen or a lawful permanent resident at the time of the individual's birth. Okay, so that's the first such circumstance there. Number two, when a person's mother's presence in the United States at the time of said person's birth was lawful but temporary, such as but not limited to visiting the United States under the auspices of the visa waiver program or visiting on a student, work, or tourist visa. Okay, many such cases, right? And the father was not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of the person's birth. Okay, so those are the two situations that happens very often that we see, but yet birthright citizenship would still extend to them. And we're trying, or at least the Trump admin is trying to change that. Okay, Section 2 policy. A. It is a policy of the United States that no department or agency of the U.S. government shall issue documents recognizing U.S. citizenship or accept documents issued by the state, local, or other governments or authorities purporting to recognize United States citizenship to persons. One, what we've just read, when a person's mother is unlawfully present in the U.S. and the father was not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. Or two, when a person's mother's presence in the U.S. was unlawful but temporary, and the person's father was not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident of the person's birth. So this is what the White House is looking to exactly, to change and to implement, hopefully. And yes, would that be a little complicated of a process to undergo, especially given within a certain time limit? Yes, but at the same time, we are also suffering a great immense pressure under these under these influxes of immigrants, or an influx of immigrants coming into the country and bringing in people that simply don't belong here, and then giving birth to individuals where they are then firmly situated on the soil of the United States at the expense of many U.S. citizens. Alas, people have been saying, some have been saying, however, that this would affect other notable individuals in American politics if this were to be implemented. And who are we talking about? Well, I'm sure you guys seen the Marco Rubio's name floated around. Okay, if this were to be implemented, this new policy, people like Marco Rubio, at least at the time of their birth, would not be considered a U.S. citizen. Is that true? Let's read. Little Marco may not benefit from this too much. Of course, he's already born. He's been here for a while. It may not apply to him necessarily, but not looking too good for people that had the same start like Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio's hard line on birthright citizenship. Given Rubio's family history involving violent crime and drug distribution, is he really the right person to talk about birthright citizenship? I don't know. Is he? Let's read. Now, I don't know much Washington Monthly. I'm assuming it's like a left-leaning, news source. I have no idea. I just found this article and I wanted to read it to you guys. So forgive me if it's a little biased, but the information here is quite interesting. Okay, when Donald Trump descended the escalator in Trump Tower in June 2015 and announced his candidacy for president, I was amazed to see his initial pitch single out Mexico for scorn. They quote, of course, they're sending us not the right people. The U.S. had become a dumping ground for everyone else's problems. You guys remember that beautiful line? Very difficult to dismiss in the history of United States presidential elections. Very eventful time period. I love 2016. That's when I first got really involved in politics, and boy, it was the best time to get involved in politics. And apparently that was the first time when we really talked about like immigration at the same level we are now. So quite crazy stuff. But this is what this person writes. It seemed pretty disconnected from reality. The only example I could think of involving a foreign nation dumping undesirable people on our shores was Fidel Castro's Cuba. As the Miami Herald memorialized back in 2016, the Mariel boat lift took place between April and September 1980. Here's a taste of how it went. For all, Mariel was an unforgettable experience. It simply changed my life, said Lula Rodriguez, now doing consulting work on corporate communications in Miami. She says the plight of many Mariel refugees remains seared in her memory, and that the exodus made her realize just how terrible the Castro regime was. I saw people who were taken from mental hospitals, Rodriguez recalled. Many of them were dazed. They asked questions like, "Where is a doctor? And when is he going to see me?" They were not even aware that they were in another country. And it just goes on to talk about these interviews. Despite this, this person writes, the criminal element in the Exodus had been badly exaggerated. And 36 years later, the boat lift is not seen as any kind of disaster for the country. No, definitely not. We certainly don't have any issues with that, specifically relating to drug cartels, of course. As you'll come to find out later in the stream, you guys should stick around till the end when we talk about Jamie White's murder, but regardless, all alleged, of course. But what I'm saying is that the violent element in these immigration processes are quite present, but alas. Now, Marco Rubio did not come to America on the Mariel boat lift. So all of this we've just read doesn't make any sense, doesn't apply, but it's still related somehow. He was born in Miami in 1971. His parents had immigrated into this country in 1956. And not in response to Castro's 1959 revolution, as Rubio often suggests. His mom and dad were not naturalized as American citizens until 1975. So Marco would most definitely be considered a candidate for non-citizenship if the 14th Amendment were modified to eliminate birthright citizenship. Of course, Cuba was always in a special category because this country officially welcomed anyone who could escape the island. In every other respect, though, Rubio is in the same country as anyone else who was born here, foreigners or guests, yet he doesn't seem to have any self-awareness about this. And then they have this tweet here. Whoops, I clicked on it. Him writing, history will remember this as a week of liberal politicians and legal scholars transformed into Constitution originalists. Well, at least as it relates to the 14th Amendment. Now, let's continue. This tweet is Senator Rubio's response to President Trump's announcement that he intends to do away with birthright citizenship, and that from legal scholars that this would be unconstitutional. Conservatives are arguing that the 14th Amendment was only intended to assure citizenship to slaves and not to every Juan, Ricardo, or Enrique who wades across the Rio Grande. Sorry, I know that's a little loud. I have to change that, but I thought it was a pertinent sound effect right now. So, I don't exactly know how to approach this, at least as far as Rubio's concerned. If I am, now I will say this, I was born to immigrants as well. Now, judging by what I understand, what this order is suggesting, I would still benefit from birthright citizenship because my parents were, received their green cards by the time they had me and were lawful permanent residents as far as I understand. But, a lot of people like Rubio live in this country, benefit from this country and contribute to this country quite greatly. And this policy may affect them, or at least their national identity is concerned. So I don't exactly know how to approach this, but what this conversation does entail, of course, is a greater conversation about what does a national or the definition of a national actually mean. And perhaps it is important for the United States to reassess that, because right now we are not living in times where we could just accept every, as they say, what did this person say, every Juan, Ricardo, and Enrique into the country, judging by how our economy is being affected by this, how the job field or the job market is affected by it, and in some cases how even the dating pool is affected, as well as just our greater economy. But what is the history of the 14th Amendment? Some of you may be asking. This is, of course, a very important question to ask if you want to really understand the context of this. But landmark legislation, let's just read this paragraph. Maybe will give you guys a good historical analysis of this. But landmark legislation, the 14th Amendment. And for those who know their history, may already be aware of this, and you can write in the chat what you think. Share me your opinions on what you think of this. But it says here, passed on the Senate on June 8th, 1866, and ratified 2 years later on July 9th, the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to all persons, quote, born and naturalized in the United States, including formerly enslaved people. Now, this is really the monkey wrench in this conversation, because that's what it was originally proposed and intended for, was to reassess the national identity of descendants of African slaves. But that was a specific issue that it was targeting. It wasn't targeting the issue of, other foreign nationals. Regardless, let's continue. and provided all citizens with equal protection under the laws extending the provisions of the Bill of Rights of the United States. The amendment authorized that the government to punish states that abridge citizens' a right to vote by proportionally reducing the representation in Congress. So it banned those who engaged in insurrection against the United States from holding any civil, military, or elected office without the approval of 2/3 of the House and the Senate. The amendment prohibited former Confederate states from repaying war debts and compensating former slave owners for the emancipation of their enslaved people. Okay. Finally, it granted Congress the power to enforce this amendment, a provision that led the passage of other landmark legislation in the 20th century, including the Civil Rights Act, as we all know and love, of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Congress required former Confederate states to ratify the 14th Amendment as a condition of regaining federal representation. Excuse me for my cough. I got a little under the weather the other day, so I may be coughing throughout this episode, but I do not smoke. It's not smoking. It's not vaping. I just got a little sick before the rumor mill starts, pushing out some rumors there. Anyways, I'm just messing around. But this is basically the history, settling the foundation of what the 14th Amendment means and where it comes from, and how exactly we are to interpret what an American identity actually entails. And so we await this decision, as this article from BBC articulates, that the U.S. Supreme Court divided over judges' power in citizenship case. Let's quickly skim this. U.S. President Donald Trump took his bid to end birthright citizenship to the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday in a case that could help further his agenda on immigration and other issues that they don't list off. The case asks whether lower court judges should be able to block presidential orders for the entire country. Of course, this is not simply a question of immigration, national identity. This is also a question of law and whether or not this executive order or any executive order has this much power to really change our conception and our understanding, recognition, and application of the Constitution. So it is sort of like a battle of two branches and very definite power centers of the United States. Very interesting for any legal nerds out there. You guys might find this that pique your interest. So it will be interesting to see what follows after this. The justices did not appear to reach a consensus, of course, as they considered both sides. The U.S. Solicitor General argued that lower courts overstepped their authority, saying this power should be curtailed. Meanwhile, the New Jersey Solicitor General, arguing on behalf of a group of states, said siding with Trump would create a patchwork system of citizenship. Are you guys ready for that? A patchwork system of citizenship. Interesting. This would create, this article says, chaos on the ground, argued a lawyer. It is not clear whether the court will issue its decision. If it agrees with Trump, then he will continue his wide-ranging use of executive orders to make good on campaign promises without having to wait for congressional approval, with limited checks by the courts. Of course, as we have listened to this previous video with Justice Kavanaugh, it does sort of imply it would be a confusing, perhaps even patchwork system involved. So the application of it is murky. Of course, we're not even there yet as far as application is concerned. We still have to get it, evaluated in the first place. But regardless, it will be interesting to see if it does go through, what would happen. One can only hope, right? There was a questioning of lower courts' power to block a presidential order nationwide, and the justices also considered the merits of birthright citizenship orders itself, which critics argue violates the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Supreme Court precedent. Another liberal justice, Sonia Sotomayor, made the comparison with gun ownership. Of course she did. Saying if any future administration wished to remove people's guns, the courts would be powerless to stop them. So obviously, the judicial elitists are getting a little bit concerned here. Okay. Now, is there justification to be concerned? Absolutely. I really do think so. I mean, we have the three branches of government for a reason, but at the same time, if we are living under what I would interpret as potentially a tyrannical system, tyrannical in a subversive way, of course, through the immigration system that we have been suffering under, seeing the populations of people that have been coming into our country, and we have been, rightly frustrated with that. But the systems that are put in place facilitating this process provides no leeway or really no room for change or question or perhaps even improvement of these systems. What else are we to do other than to rely on the executive? Because tyranny can go both ways, of course. It doesn't primarily come from the executive. Yes. This is why we have, or I guess there's more potential for it to come from the executive, and this is why we have the three-branch system. But we really hardly ever talk about, well, people more on the right talk about this, but regardless, we never really talk about the activism that is heralded within the judicial system and the judicial branch. And so I think that not only, like I said, is this a question of national identity, although that is important to discuss and to reconsider, but it is also a question of the power plays that are hidden or overtly shown within American government. You guys, that is the question of birthright citizenship. I do want to know you guys' opinions, so please share it in the chat. I still want to talk about a lot more here with you all today, but I got to proceed with the stories here because we are almost at our hour mark, and I want to have enough time for the Liberty Tonight show after this one, so I'm going to be jumping into my next few topics here. If you guys want me to read any of your comments or cover any particular story or answer any of your questions within reason, please donate a Rumble rant. It will go a long way in supporting the show and also have me interact with you. But only through Rumble will I be able to interact with that chat. Please, in the meantime, join or visit the ap4libertyshop.com. Once again, that is the letter A, the letter P, the number 4, libertyshop.com. And there you can find wonderful products under the Culture Trauma collection, such as this pillow right here and many other fun pillows that I have on the shop. I am also a proud and happy, humble coffee merchant, and I sell the Atomic Blonde coffee that you guys can take a look at and perhaps purchase for a one-time donation of the show or for a consecutive donation every one or couple months or a couple weeks, and that way you'll support the show and also have a delicious mug of Joe every morning or evening if that is what you desire. I drink coffee at night every day. So I will put the screen up for the link for the market, the AP for Liberty market, so you guys can find that coffee or pillow, mug, or whatever it is that you want to purchase to support Culturama. Everyone, thank you for tuning in today. I have a few more stories I want to cover with you, and this next one, what do I have on my roster here? Of course, all very important, but I wanted to talk about the academic longhouse, everyone. What is Harvard doing to their administration? The academic longhouse, women, white liberal women, awfuls, are taking control of Harvard, everyone. And what does this mean for research and academia in the United States? Well, it doesn't look too good. I will be right back, and I'll be pulling those stories up, everyone. In the meantime, please like and share the stream. Let's pump those numbers up. I know I was gone for a while, so let's get those numbers up, and let's get more viewership on here, everyone. God bless you. I will be right back.
Times are changing, feel the buzzing. Staying true when they're fussing. Keep the flag a-flying through stormy nights. With the star-spangled banner, I stand tall with manners. Cross my heart with hope in sight. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and free, with liberty. Stick to values in the trends. Families gather, let's defend. Hold the line, keep the bond alive. for our dream, true, thrive and strive. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and glory, with liberty. We'll keep fighting for what's right.
This is what we hold, values that keep us grounded still. Stand up for what is right, don't let the world make your will. Freedom and balance, it's here to stay, so let's embrace.
Watch me on Rumble, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on X this Saturday. And that will start at the same time, 5 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. Central Time.
Counting numbers driving me mad, statistics piling, it's all a fad. Everywhere I look, numbers inside, adding this up, keeping me up at night. Oh, those figures dance and whirl in this cluttered number world.
Welcome to this segment of Offensive Statistics here in Culturama. I think you guys are going to enjoy this one because, well, excuse me, hold on a second. I forgot my little helper here. Hold on, where is it? There we go. There we go. You guys see that Venus and Willendorf up in the corner? I think that's going to help us understand this concept better. So, the academic longhouse. This is a topic that I've covered and talked about on this show quite frequently, and it is a topic that, I'm really passionate about and I've written about in the past before. But what do I mean by academic longhouse exactly? Longhouse, of course, for those that don't know, is I wouldn't say it's a slang term, but it's like an online term for institutions or environments that are primarily dominated by women, under the purview of women, and are highly regulated and controlled by women. And what follows from that is usually a very regulated environment, and one which discovery, progression, and conflict do not necessarily thrive in. And even though that could be good in some instances, and, a lot of women, they are the regulators of society. I talked about that quite frequently. Like I said, I've written about it as well, and it is very much true. Women are very security-driven. They aim for security. They want safety, and therefore they are the regulators of society. They promote and promulgate certain aspects of society, whilst also preventing and ostracizing other aspects of society or culture or individuals. And what follows from that is a highly functioning society. So women are good regulators. I'm not saying women shouldn't be, participatory at all in these systems or in these circles or aspects of human life or civilization building or society building. However, there are, and it must be said, there are instances where certain institutions or certain aspects of society, we live in a society, I say the word a lot, society, but there are aspects of society which, I'm just going to be honest, when women do regulate and control, does not thrive. And this is something that we have been seeing. Now, I'm going to read about a particular story that has come out. Report: Harvard discriminates against white men in admin faculty hiring. What exactly is going on in Harvard, everyone? Let's read about it. We live in a society. Okay, despite a U.S. Supreme Court ruling about its admission policies and the loss of future federal subsidies, Harvard University has continued its anti-white racially discriminatory policies. Documents obtained by the City Journal's Christopher Rufo. We've talked about Christopher Rufo quite a bit on this show before, for better or for worse, but he has done a lot of decent things within academia. For those that are unaware, the new college that used to be pretty left-leaning is now, I would say, primarily conservatively occupied, excuse me, I'm slurring my words here. English is not my first language, is conservatively occupied now since Christopher Rufo has got involved with it. So, and he has exposed a lot about the hypocrisy and the negative elements within the academic institution. But anyway, proceeding, documents obtained by the City Journal's Christopher Rufo demonstrate that Harvard operates a diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, machine that systematically promotes women and minorities ahead of white men in faculty and administration positions. That focus on DEI has led to revelations that multiple staff members are plagiarists, not least former President Claudine Gay. Claudine Gay, of course, used to be, I guess you could say, I think the term is president of Harvard. And she was a known plagiarist. And thanks to people like Christopher Rufo, this has come out. This is like a year-old story, though, at this point. But that aside, the documents show that Harvard officials are not concerned about not only losing future federal grants, but also the school's coveted tax-exempt status. And there's a tweet by Christopher Rufo on it. Illegal discrimination. Despite adopting some conciliatory measures, behind the scenes, the university's discrimination machine continues to operate at full capacity, Rufo wrote. And we have the tweets right here, so we might as well just read the tweet itself. But yeah, let's just jump to the tweet itself. This I just want to open up with this article. Exclusive. I and this account, RK Thorpe, have obtained internal documents from Harvard revealing that the university deliberately penalizes white men in hiring and would virtually eliminate supposed oppressor groups from certain occupations. Who are these oppressor groups, you may be asking yourself? This is one of Harvard's affirmative action plans, writes Christopher Rufo, which sets aggressive racial targets, including increasing the number of minorities in certain occupations by nearly 500%. 500. And reducing the number of white men across dozens of occupations, which is illegal. And of course, he cites some documents here that I won't be going over, but you know, if you want more information, just go to Christopher Rufo's page. It has 13,000 likes. I think you guys will find it. Welcome in the chat, Liberty Tonight Show. Thank you for joining Culture Rama tonight. We cannot wait to watch your show after mine. Welcome. What's up? We are reading about the academic longhouse. Okay, continuing. Faculty hiring is also engineered to filter out white men. Harvard's official guidebook instructs departments to favor women and minorities at each step in the process, telling officials to monitor applicants by race and to move white men to the back of the reading pile, you guys. So if you're applying for a job there, and you're a man, especially a white man, you're going to go in the back. You go to the back of the bus, okay? Let's see what he cites here. Okay, under university guidelines, the committee chair, who has a primary responsibility for ensuring the integrity of the search, can see the confidential individual, self-identified demographic data, including gender, race, and ethnicity, captured in the ARIES system, I guess. Although these confidential data should not be shared with the committee, the chair should evaluate whether the search is wide-ranging and thorough. Okay, so they have access to these demographic analyses reports. The committee iterates toward the long list. The chair should continually monitor its composition. How diverse is it? Does representation of women and minorities reflect the applicant pool, etc.? Potential candidates mentioned early in the process often have a leg up along the way. So ensure, what does that say? I can't read that. That early lists include women and minorities. Okay, so there he's citing all this. It shows that the The application process, clearly they scan it over and they had the data, the demographic data of those applicants, and they will scrape this through. And if you happen to be a male and or white, you get placed in the back of the assessment pile. And you're the last to be considered, if you are even to be considered, unless they hire enough people that they need before then, before they get to you. So that is disgusting. Again, like I said, if you're a white man, get to the back of the bus. You're not working here in Harvard. Okay, what else does Christopher say? Despite promising to discontinue mandatory diversity statements, Harvard continues to promote DEI in its faculty hiring listings and continues to provide diversity-related sample interview questions. Fun! That function as a racial ideological filter. This is something that I've seen shared a lot on my X feed. I've had a lot of people that just apply for basic jobs, like even customer service jobs, and I've had to undergo this as well recently. Have you guys noticed that a lot of them are doing like these video submissions now? Even for basic customer service jobs, they require you to provide a 2-minute video of yourself talking about, your skills for the job. And people were talking about how like annoying this is, that you have to undergo this process, but it kind of clicked with me that it's not just to see like your speaking skills or how you present yourself. It's like a pre-interview thing, but it's a filter. And I really do believe, and maybe call me conspiratard, but I really do believe that it is a filter. It is a filter to see what skin color you are. And, as someone that has worked in customer service, I don't work in customer service anymore, but as someone who has, and who has a rich resume of working in customer service, I can tell you that I have had the worst luck in finding jobs in this field now, as opposed to the past, especially when I have to submit a 2-minute video of me talking to a camera. And I really do think that they're filtering out, certain ethnicities of people. So, but this one, they have also a questionnaire to have an ideological filter as well. Welcome to the working world, ladies and gentlemen. This is Planet Earth. I hope you enjoy your stay. He cites this article. It says here, ideal candidates should also be committed to fostering principles of diversity, inclusion, and belonging throughout their research and teaching endeavors and activities. Here are the interview questions. Diversity-related sample interview questions. What do you see as a fundamental characteristics of organizations that create an inclusive environment? What do you see as the most... Are you guys ready for this? Let's do a little questionnaire. Let's see. Number 1, what do you see as a fundamental characteristics of an organization that create an inclusive environment? What would you guys say to that? If you had to answer these questions. What do you see as the most challenging aspect of a diverse working environment? Please tell us, what is something that bothers you about diversity? What is the right answer here? Are you allowed to say what you find? Like what would a person say in this instance? No, I really find it uncomfortable when there's difference of thought, religion, ethnicity, opinion in the workplace. I hate it. Why would they say that? What steps have you taken to meet this challenge? Okay, what else? Please share an example that demonstrates your respect for people and their differences, and how you've worked to understand their perspectives of others. Well, you see, there was a disabled person in the class. They were in a wheelchair, and you could just make up a story on the fly, right? And I offered them the door first to go through. I didn't open it for them. I watched them struggle, but alas, they eventually opened it. I feel like that was a way for them to learn the vril in their actions. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, what do you say in that instance? Provide an example of a time you communicated a complex concept to an individual who spoke English as a second language. Hey, that's me, you guys. You can all use me as an example, as a reference here. English is my second language. So what was a time you've communicated a complex concept to me? A lot of you've communicated a lot of complex issues to me in the chat. So there you go. You could say that I was in a stream, a political right-wing stream, and I've explained to this, birthright citizenship girl something about the Constitution so she could better remember it. Or no, I've explained to her how to properly articulate the word Wikipedia. A lot of people were on me for that. I don't know how to pronounce Wikipedia correctly. What else do we have? What is your definition of a diverse population? What behaviors, techniques, or decisions allow you to function most effectively as a provider or employee when working with a highly diverse population? What tools have you employed in working with a diverse staff? Please describe a time when you led campus outreach activities for underserved. That is not a Freudian slip, ladies and gentlemen. An underserved student population. Developing, leading workshops, for example, providing consultation to student service departments. Both of those pronunciations were wrong, wrote Barney Stiles. I can't speak English properly. Okay, last question. Where and how have you formed cultural sensitivities, and how do you find cultural sensitivity to play a critical role in a position like this? As a female, I have attended college. And I've taken a few classes, at least in the first couple of years of my college, for like cultural sensitivity courses, intercultural communications courses. And actually, to be fair with you guys, I did find them interesting, especially intercultural communications. And there is a conversation to be had about like how you effectively communicate to people, especially during the era of globalization, how you effectively communicate with people of different cultures and ideals and even virtues. And so when you're trying to bridge a gap or a communication barrier with certain demographics and populations of people, it is quite useful information. So I'm not going to like say that courses or resources that are designed to help articulate these ideas better are completely ineffective or a waste of your time. But what I will say is that there is a limit to how much we can, I think, tolerate. And at some point, you just have to like accept that regardless of how compromising or how facilitatory you will be for certain populations of people, at the end of the day, this is your turf. And you should be aware that as a society, as a Western society, we do nothing but compromise our values and, our virtues, our definitions, and our systems for peripheral groups. But at some point, that just becomes invasion. And we just have to be honest about that. But these are interesting questions. Now, why did this is the article, the City Journal article that Christopher Rufo references, but why am I calling this segment the offensive statistics segment, okay? Well, I want to show you guys a few stats here and why I think the reason for why this is happening and why Harvard faculty admissions are rigorously filtering out white males specifically is because of the leadership within these institutions, and why I am a proponent of heavily critiquing, in fact, the American higher academic institution at large, because it has been being crippled for the last couple generations now, especially as we have been seeing the leadership and the faculty, the overall administration of these institutions being occupied not just by leftists, mind you, although that's a big part of it, but also by certain demographics of people. And that demographic is the WQ, the woman question. So let's dive in. This is an article Now, women now outnumber men in the U.S. college-educated labor force. Welcome to the academic longhouse, everybody. Okay, what does this say? Women have overtaken men and now account for more than half of the college-educated labor force in the United States, according to Pew Research Center. This is articles from 2023, so not too long ago. The change occurred in the fourth quarter of 2019 and remains the case today. It's projected to even go further than this. Women now represent the majority of college-educated labor force in the U.S. Now, let me stop you guys right there. I know you guys are probably thinking, maybe you disagree with me, maybe you agree with me, but I am not suggesting that this is unnatural or doesn't make sense or it should be completely stopped, actually. Do I think that majority of women should go to college? No. But I don't think majority of people should go to college. I think that we should go back to a point where we acknowledge, where we used to acknowledge historically that college is just one of those things for a select number of people in society that can benefit us through more, abstract applications of their knowledge in certain professions, more, lofty positions. And there is a I would say like maybe 20-30%, be generous, maybe 30% of the American population is inclined towards this. Maybe 20 if we're talking about like the humanities and the arts. Yeah, people, men and women can be inclined in this way, but we have reached a point in our culture, in our society, where we have universalized education, where although that may be good for K through 12, for instance, but we have applied this theory and this idea that universalized education should be applied for people up until their adulthood, and that means college. And I think this accounts for a lot of social ills because, practically speaking, financially, it is unscrupulous and it is not intended for, let's just say it's not really successful in the long term. For individual, like, your personalized, your own pocket and bank account as well as the greater population of America. But it is also culturally not very good when you say that everyone needs a degree. Because if everyone has a degree, as the Incredibles villain said, syndrome, if everyone has a college degree, then nobody has a college degree. But the reason why this is making sense is because as more women enter the workforce, they're going to take up more, administrative roles, more cerebral roles, more than the man will. I mean, women are not physically adept like men are. So it would make sense why more women would go to college, but that's only because these professions where women do want financial independence require higher academic degrees. And, that's just, that's going to dilute the quality of these degrees. And, this is, of course, a topic that everyone talks about. Everyone in the right wing already knows. Charlie Kirk built his entire, organizational foundation on it, that college is a scam. So, what I'm saying is not novel, but it still needs to be reiterated. And this is why we are seeing this happen within Harvard. I do believe it's related. So as these stats show, number of people ages 25 or older in the U.S. labor force with at least a bachelor's degree in the millions, women are outnumbering men. Labor force of women without a college degree has shrunk, especially since 2019. Number of people ages 25 or older in the U.S. labor force in the millions. Now, I do want to say I am one of these women. I have a bachelor's in political science. I have a master's in public policy. I am very much an academic. This is just something, this is who I am. I've always been an academic. Now, I don't want to say I'm the exception to the rule, and I am part of that 30%, because I ended up being a streamer. But I like to say I am. But being an infiltrator in these systems, I can also say, and being a part of these systems, I'm also aware of the social ills that flow through from them. Here's another stat. It's from an article, from a political article, Women Rule the Ivies. Here's a stat. Higher education power gap is not a pipeline issue, as many like to put it. Women have received the majority of PhDs, a preferred qualification to lead a college, for more than a decade, and nearly 40% of all academic deans and provosts are women. Okay, so we're reaching the halfway mark. This article was written, let's see, 2023, same year. So at the point of this article being written in 2023, it probably has increased by now slightly. But it says here that 40% of all academic deans and provosts are women, positions from which are about 75% of all presidents are drawn. Claudine Gay was one of them, notorious plagiarizer. But, and this is primarily being reflected within the Ivy League schools, especially the Ivy League schools. The more avant-garde, the more that's going to happen. So, yes, women are infiltrating these systems, and even though initially that would be interpreted as a good thing, you know, I don't necessarily see this harm in that, but we have to acknowledge the reality of how women deal with conflict, how women deal with the discovery of new information. And as we have seen culturally throughout various human cultures, throughout various human civilizations, and the evolution of humanity in general, not all women, but a lot of them are, let's just say, not inclined towards new information, useful information, proper application of discovery and information. Like I said, women are regulators. They're not necessarily discoverers. Am I saying all women? Absolutely not. But there is a pattern to behold here. And when you apply this to the real world, what will end up happening is that you will see more and more of stories like this where they're going to filter out people of certain demographics and place certain barriers against these individuals, like white men, who they view as dangerous, oppressive, and the way that women articulate their aggression, their internal aggression, is not through physical violence, is not through direct confrontation or conflict, although sometimes they will, Karens exist, but it's usually not through direct conflict. Usually it's through subversive ostracization of people that they deem dangerous, oppressive, different, even that they have personal issues with. Because women typically are more personal, but, you know, I will also say I know a lot of guys that are very personal as well. But regardless, I don't know. What do you guys think? We have entered the state of the academic longhouse completely, and it's not looking so good for white men in higher education, in the higher education system. But I don't know. I found that story fairly interesting, you guys. I do have a lot more to cover, and I want to cover them sooner rather than later, because at the end of this stream, we have the Liberty Tonight show right after mine. Pretty funny. You guys may want to check that out. In the meantime, join or visit the ap4libertyshop.com, where you can get yourself a wonderful Culturama mug. Do I have a fun sound effect? A wonderful Culturama mug, as well as pillow, coffee. I'm a humble coffee merchant, and more. Only at the AP4 Liberty shop, everybody. But I'm going to be talking about a few more topics, some more serious than others. But thank you for joining me in this rabbit hole of discussion. That was the Academic Longhouse. And I want to thank everyone that has joined the stream so far. I know I've been gone for last week for a little while, but I'm finally back, and I'm glad to be back and stream. But please share and like the stream in the meantime. Send in a Rumble rant if you're so inclined, if you're so generous. And, you know, in the meantime, I'll be bringing up my next few stories. But this next story is a bit more serious. I will be talking about Jamie White. For those that aren't aware, Jamie White was an InfoWars reporter from Texas, fairly well known. And I've talked about it on my show before. I was quite passionate about the case, but he had been killed, and we were not aware of the suspect. And the details leading up to the events of his death were suspicious, and people were afraid this was politically motivated or Jamie White was politically targeted. But they have found the suspect, and let's just say it's not looking too pretty. And I don't see a lot of people talk about it online, which is weird. So I'm going to be talking about it here in the next, after this commercial break. And then on top of that, we have the James Lindsay drama as well. I know it's, I'm pairing a very serious story with a not so serious story, but James Lindsay, did I say Jamie Lindsay? I'm sorry. James Lindsay, Arby's drama. What am I talking about? Is Arby's woke right, everyone? Well, you'll find out shortly, very soon. After this commercial break, everybody, I will be right back. So stay tuned. We still have a lot more to cover. And then we have the Tonight Liberty Show as part of the 4 Liberty Network. Thank you for joining Culturama, everyone. I shall be right back.
Stand firm in our belief.
Hold tight.
Through the times clearer we can see. Crazy world spinning round.
Stay grounded.
In our hearts simple truths agree. Whisper of freedom and liberty.
Rings true.
Our foundation strong and deep. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. In the story we built for trust and
never doubt.
Time flies but we won't bend. Communists talk loud and fast.
Stay solid.
Our quiet strength is our reply. So salute to change but pause.
Reflect.
In unity our dearest friend. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. In shadows we find our light. Through chaos we stay upright.
Stay.
With courage, faith on our side.
Forever.
Standing firm, our guide. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to Culturama. We only have 30 minutes left, so let me just dive into these next few topics here with you today. And thank you, everyone that has joined us today on the show. I'm having a great time. I love the last segment. I see that Barney Styles wrote that the issue with women leading academia is that females seek consensus over truth, and that's absolutely true. And thank you for summarizing that for me, Barney Styles. That's basically what I was trying to say. I do see consensus over truth, absolutely. And also their the way that they involve themselves or confront conflict or deal with conflict is also very, let's just say, not the most productive. But Nelson65 also wrote, for a while, my office was heading for DEI. 99% were women. Then the legislature got involved, and now we have 3 men in my section, and a new one starts tomorrow. Wonderful, Nelson65. We got some more fellas joining you. That's great. But yeah, I mean, as a woman, like, you know, this is something I struggle with because I'm not against, obviously, you know, having women in the workplace. And I think certain protections in the workplace makes sense. But, you know, obviously we have gone a bit too far, and we just, we need to chill out with the DI, because obviously at that point you're just getting in people that aren't qualified for that position. And, that is the worst aspect of all of this. That's the only bad aspect. I mean, I understand when the bleeding heart leftists say that they want adequate representation, and that therefore that will incentivize more people to step up to bat, go up to the plate, and actually, you know, of these minorities, of these demographics of minorities, and they will go into these fields because they feel empowered to do so. And I understand the logic behind that, but it doesn't prove to really work. And not only that, but the outcomes of these policies just prove to yield poor quality output of, you know, product of these organizations or institutions or whatnot. So, but let me pull up the next few stories here for you guys, because I want to ask you guys a question. And this is a good litmus test for those interested, but hold on a second. This is a good litmus test for politics, everyone. Where do you lie? Do you view Arby's, this sandwich, with respect or disgust? When you look at this sandwich, how does that make you feel? Excuse a picture of James Lindsay on the corner of the screen. He's going to be joining us here today. Maybe I should make it smaller, actually. No, I think it looks fine. But do you guys view this picture with disgust, with revulsion? Are you just reacting to it, or does it look quite tasty to you? I can't say. I loathe Arby's. In fact, I think I've tried only one item from there a long time ago, and I don't even exactly remember what it was. I think I was like 15 years old, maybe younger. And let's just say I didn't enjoy it all that much. It must have been some kind of ham sandwich. I wasn't happy about it. But how does this picture make you guys feel? Well, if you said disgust, you are not on the right team. I'm kidding. So, what is this? Why Arby's sandwiches? Some of you that perhaps are on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, may have seen these memes around with this overweight individual, James Lindsay, whose t-shirts are a bit too tight on him, and the Arby's sandwich. Well, I've talked about it last stream, but this figurehead, thought leader even, you could say, within the online right, James Lindsay, who used to be, I would say, used to put out pretty good content, has been platformed by organizations like Turning Point USA and Daily Wire, you know, and he has been a proponent standing up against the social justice warriors, the overbearing left, right? And he has been a paragon of that virtue up until now, but quite recently, he has been gatekeeping elements of the right wing and of the online right. And he has said that certain individuals within the right wing, he has deemed the woke right. These are who he deems are the radicals. And I take issue with it personally because I think it's a bit gatekeepy. I think that if you can't ask certain questions or say certain things, therefore you'll be deemed as woke right, and you should be ostracized from all aspects of political participation in the online sphere. And I think that's quite concerning. And a lot of people had issues and took issue with this. And so James Lindsay, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and watch the stream from Tuesday, just the last stream. And I talk about it quite more extensively, but he has been going out of his way, attacking certain individuals online and calling them woke right. And this has been going on for actually a number of months. And people took issue with it, saying that, hey, look, you're gatekeeping parts of the right wing. So, you know, if you can't ask questions, if you can't have certain conversations, and we're going to be kicked out of the online right of the conservative movement, who are you to say that? He calls himself anti-communist. He's acting a little bit like a communist himself, but regardless. So James Lindsay has been kind of crashing out online about it, you know, kind of embarrassing himself. But regardless, it hasn't gone that bad. I think, you know, I kind of understand where this guy's coming from, whatever. I didn't want to, you know, get too involved. I did talk about it, but I didn't think it was as compelling until I saw this tweet. So she posted this. He wrote, Arby's is trying to appeal to the woke right demo. That's curtains for them. Cringe AF. So, what exactly is Arby's appealing? What exactly do Arby's do to appeal to the woke right? The radicals. What did Arby's do to appeal to the radicals of the right wing? The most like heinous, racist, awful people, sexist, awful people. Well, Arby's made a tweet and they said, unlike Dad, our ham and Swiss actually came back. The ham and Swiss sandwich, everybody, in fact, does have a father. Okay, I'm just going to spell it out for you guys. Maybe some of you are confused. What's going on here? Well, Arby's, said this tweet, unlike Dad, our ham and Swiss actually came back. What does this mean? They're clearly making a joke. I mean, I'm not saying the Arby's social media team had this in mind when they did this, but James Lindsay interpreted this as a racist joke, I think is what's going on here. And because, the stereotype is that black fathers don't stay in the family. And that's actually, in fact, fatherlessness is a big issue in the black community. We all know that. But James Lindsay took this tweet that was supposed to be, I honestly think, innocent and funny, twisted it, and said that Arby's is now, like the radical right, they're appealing to the woke right demo. So Arby's is appealing to all the racists and fascists online with this tweet here. This is James Lindsay, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. And everyone's been clowning on him because, how could you take an innocent tweet about an Arby's ham and Swiss sandwich and misconstrue it in the most heinous way possible like that? It's so embarrassing. And when I saw this, I honestly had to do a double take because I felt like this has to be like a parody, right? This is a joke of his own ideology or his own idea. But no, he actually tried to double down and then he winded it back. And I think he apologized. Well, he didn't apologize, but he he said it was a mistake. But people are clowning on him. This Bugman Hagel individual wrote, James Lindsay isn't just a lol cow. He's a factory lol farm. We have $5 from Nelson65. Thank you so much, Nelson65. You wrote, I love your show. Say hi to Leo for us. Nelson65. Leo says hello back. His bones are a little achy today. It was cloudy and rainy, so he is resting. But thank you for your $5, Nelson, and I will let Leo know you said hello. Okay, so here is the response I just said. This is James Lindsay after he sat down in his big boy chair. He put the phone down for a second, okay? He turned off Twitter for a whole 5 minutes, and he thought about it, and he said, you know what? Maybe the Arby's tweet was a bit embarrassing. I can make fun of Matt Walsh. I can, partner with the Daily Wire people. I can do all this stuff that, sort of makes me look bad. But, it's weird. He badmouthed Matt Walsh, but he was platformed by Daily Wire. That's interesting how that works, actually. I wonder if I've heard the suggestion that maybe Daily Wire is going to push Matt Walsh out. maybe they may replace him. I think that's a little too speculatory, but it is interesting how that works because James Lindsay and Matt Walsh have been going head to head on Twitter. But anyway, James took a moment, he took a breather, and he thought to himself, maybe the Arby sandwich bit was a big cringe. Hero actually might have overread the cringe Arby's ad, so they can have that one. The memes I thought it referenced are real and increasingly common, but Arby's didn't play into them. Sorry, fam. So at least he apologized. I'm going to give him a like for that one. At least he apologized. You know what? Let me retweet this. I mean, at least he apologized. There we go. Tweet that. If you guys are watching the stream, go like it right now. Please juice my tweet. But yeah, it's a little embarrassing. Walsh is the only thing that Daily Wire has going. I agree, Barney Styles 100%. Walsh is the only funny, charismatic, even individual on that show. I try to like Michael Knowles. I'm not a fan. He's okay. I want to try cigars maybe, but because he has his own cigar thing. But I'm not a big. I have a cigar right here actually. It's from DC. I never cracked it open, but I had it for a whole year. Anyways, maybe 2 years. Jordan Peterson, I used to love his work, and it's just embarrassing. I can't watch him. Well, who else is on there? Candace Owens is out. I never really cared for her. But what's the other one? Clavin, the bald guy. I never watched him. But Brett Cooper, I never watched. And Ben Shapiro, I used to like, and I don't like anymore. So you're right. Matt Walsh is the only one I actually thoroughly enjoy. I actually really enjoyed his last movie, Am I a Racist? Very good. But anyways, Knowles is good, but has no compelling edge. Yeah, exactly. Like, Knowles is all right. If I had to pick any other individual to consume their information. I'm sorry. A bit of a Jeffrey Dahmer moment there. I'm kidding. If I were to consume their content, other than Matt Walsh, my second choice would be Michael Knowles. But I'm not like, I don't get excited to watch Michael Knowles. You know what I mean? If I see a clip of him on my feed, I may watch it, but if I see a little reel of him on my YouTube Shorts list, maybe I'll watch it. But I'm not like compelled. But when I see Matt Walsh, I just like, I perk up. I'm not a huge fan of Matt Walsh. I didn't used to be. Recently, I find him quite interesting because it seems like he's the only guy on that network that actually says things that matter and are pertinent and are relevant. And he's saying things that people, unfortunately, in the political world are afraid to say, like obvious common sense things. And as someone with as much political capital as he has and clout, I'm not going to say it's necessarily courageous, but it is big of him, and it's good of him to come out and say these things at the fray before smaller accounts or platforms or individuals like me and whatnot. So we don't have to say that initially and possibly lose political clout over it, quite honestly. And so I do appreciate that from Matt Walsh. Let me pull up the next story, you guys, because I do want to cover it before I leave. This one is a bit more serious, but it is important to cover. So remember the Jamie White story. Let me guys remind you. A couple months back, I think it happened in March, late March, Jamie White, a reporter with InfoWars, had his life taken. He was killed. He was, I don't remember if the story was shot to death or stabbed to death. I think it was changed, but regardless, and judging by who Jamie White is, who he worked for, and what he stood for, it looked like, and at the time I said this, it kind of looked like an execution style, like perhaps assassination attempt, or a successful assassination rather, and people were suggesting that this could have been politically motivated. And I covered the story on my stream quite extensively, and my conclusion was that this seems politically motivated, and the details leading up to the death or rather the lack thereof, that law enforcement wasn't willing to release was a bit suspicious. Did I say that was absolutely the case? No, but I was curious, and it seems like anyone that was asking this question was either like shut down or ignored, and law enforcement wasn't very open about it. But it seems like the details are even more concerning, or in some ways more concerning than what I had initially suggested. Now, this is all alleged still, but the suspects more or less have been found. And so here is more details on the story. The APD arrests 17-year-old in connection to the murder of Jamie White. Police said this appeared to be the second time that someone targeted reporter Jamie White's vehicle break-in. So initially they said it was just a robbery gone wrong. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember that. The Austin police have arrested a suspect in connection to a highly publicized murder of InfoWars reporter in Austin, Texas. The 17-year-old Aloy Adrian Camarillo was arrested on April 30th and charged with capital murder, according to an update from the Austin Police Department on May 15th. That is today. And there's no picture of the boy here, the young man. But I have it on my Twitter, and I'll share it with you guys here in a minute. But White was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead early the next morning. Investigators said the person responsible for his death had, quote, no regard for human life, clearly, and could have also been responsible for several other car break-ins. We're independent finders of fact, Jason Jones said during the investigation. We'll follow the leads that develop the case, and that's where we'll end up. According to police, the suspects responsible for White's death may have been targeting Kia vehicles due to the defect that makes them prone to theft. While Kia has released a fix for the defect, it's unclear if White's vehicle had this defect fixed. They're still going with the carjacking story, and like that very well could be the case. This may not even be politically motivated like I had originally articulated or suggested on this show, but it is still concerning. Let me show you this article. Teen now in custody after failed shooting of InfoWars reporter, and 3 others allegedly involved. So they're still looking into who else is involved, but they did at least arrest this one 17-year-old. The 17-year-old has been arrested in connection with the failed shooting of InfoWars employee during an attempted car burglary in South Austin earlier this year. Aloy Adrian Camarillo. Now, you guys, I want you to look at his name and consider something for me, okay? Camarillo is actually perhaps how you pronounce it. That has the same information. He was taken in custody at the end of the month of April and charged. According to the arrest affidavit, investigators believe that White interrupted the suspects as they were attempting to burglarize his green Kia Soul. Evidence at the scene, including a broken window and blood inside the vehicle, suggests 1 or 2 more of the suspects may have been injured during the break-in. Ads. Can I even exit out of this? Let me see if I can open this tweet here. This is the Jamie White. This, I think, was one of his last tweets before he got killed. Not passed away, before he got killed. I'm grateful to Alex Jones for bringing me on board to wage this information against the globalists. We've only begun the fight. InfoWars never dies. I'm sorry, this was not his last tweet. This was just a tweet, but there's a picture of him and Alex. If you go on his profile here, his last tweet, March 9th. Bernie's a class act, ain't he? Anyways. So this is Jamie White, the writer, reporter for InfoWars that got killed. But I want to show you guys the image of the individual that was caught. Okay? This was taken from the Alex Jones show, okay? What does this tell you? This is what I wrote. Suspect arrested in the Jamie White assassination story. Jamie was an InfoWars reporter who was mysteriously killed during an alleged vehicle break-in. I want to ask you, how many cartel criminals are active in Texas right now? Well, I want to remind you guys, this killing happened in Texas, Austin, right by the border. And this appears to be a very ardent Mexican national here. But this was Eloy Caramillo, however you pronounce it, was individual, the suspect, who had taken his life. And I haven't seen anyone talk about it, but what is going on in America? And this is what it means when we say we need to really reconsider the national identity of the people in this country, what birthright citizenship means, how the immigration system can be improved to prevent things from like this. Because this is one of those situations, obviously this is not like the Lake and Riley case and how it played out, but we are seeing more and more of these events happen where we have people from other countries come in and commit heinous acts. And, somehow we're not allowed to really question the issues that we are facing with the present immigration system. Okay? And unfortunately, a man who did good work had to lose his life over this. So that's presently where we're at right now. Nelson65 writes, Danielle Pensek admits live in Culturama that she is in fact a cannibal. Nelson65, that is slander. I am not in fact a cannibal, alas. I can see why people may think that, but that is not the case, okay? Did you guys see that James Comey tweet, or I'm sorry, Instagram post? I need to find it, but I also want to ask you guys this other question. I have a couple minutes left, and I want to say this one thing for you. I didn't cover the James Comey. James Comey, for those that don't know, posted a picture. I think he deleted it since then, but he posted a picture of him at the beach. Well, it was a picture of the number 8647, and it was arranged by. Let me just pull it up for you. What am I doing? Comey. James Comey. Where's James Comey? Here we go. Speaking of weird conspiracy theories, Donald Trump Jr. wrote, just James Comey casually calling my dad to be murdered. This is what the Dem media worships demented. And this is an Instagram post. He used shells to spell out 8647, everybody. The former FBI director posted this. If you guys don't know what it means, this is a calling card to kill President Trump, by the way. 86 means, if you 86 something. I've heard it's used in the restaurant community a lot. When you 86 something, you end something, you throw it out, you get rid of it, you dispose of it. And then 47 is, the president's current position right now. He's the 47th president. So 8647, this has been used online as like a signal for the assassination attempt or of disposing of taking the life of Donald Trump. And so the former FBI director posted this on his official Instagram. Kind of weird. And as the liberals would say, that is not brat. That is kind of weird. And does beg a lot of interesting questions about politically motivated targeted events, specific events, violent offense, if you guys know what I mean. Is his mask a Mexican flag? Yes, Nelson65. The killer of Jamie White has a picture of him with a Mexican flag image on his face as a mask. He's a criminal. I'm not going to say he is part of the drug cartel, but he's obviously a criminal. I mean, he is a criminal. He killed someone. But let's just say if he was involved in shady criminal activity before this, maybe even related with drugs, I wouldn't be surprised. Lastly, I want to end on this note, you guys. This does look rather delicious. What do you guys think of this? Ham and bananas hollandaise. I think this looks delicious. A lot of people were saying poor negative stuff about this, but I actually want to make this. This looks great. What do you guys think? I think it looks great. I think it looks delicious. Look at that. Well, you guys, I have managed to go through all the stories today on Culturama, and we got to end it here because we have the Liberty Tonight show next. Everybody, let me do my outro. I want to thank everyone that has joined me today on stream. It has been great. Thank you for sharing and liking the stream. And thank you for liking the post I just made about James Lindsay. By the way, I saw that. So it's very good to see all you guys. I don't even like pineapple and ham, writes Barney Styles. Barney Styles, you would have a hard time with a banana dish. I love pineapple on pizza. It is one of those things where it's like, do you like pineapple on pizza? Salty and sweet. I love pineapple on pizza. I think I would like this hollandaise dish. But anyways, I do want to thank you guys that have joined me, but I must call it quits here because we do have the Liberty Tonight show coming up. And those that know can join. I'm sure if they're still in the chat, they can share their link in the chat there. But let me see if they're online before I sign off. But I do want to thank you guys for joining. I'm so glad to be back to streaming. And next week, it's just going to be the same schedule. And I will likely be doing a gaming stream this Saturday as well, everyone. So stay tuned for that. Okay, there's a link. I found the link for the stream. I'm just going to see if I can pop it in the chat here. I have been having troubles with the Rumble Studio. So I don't know if I can successfully do this. But let me see if I can drop this in the chat for you guys. Oh, we also had people from YouTube, Mr. Labrisi and Labsurdi and Tech Ninja was in the chat as well earlier. Thank you guys for joining. Okay. Can I copy and paste this link? No, yes. Okay. I just dropped the chat, the link for the Liberty Tonight stream, everybody. But let me do my outro, and I will sign off accordingly on Culturama today. I think it was a good stream, everyone. What do you think, chat? I think it was pretty good. My favorite part was the academic longhouse, as usual, but I think it was a pretty informative stream, and I am glad that we did have some closure on the Jamie White murder. Because I remember that story kind of got to me. I do like the InfoWars. I do like what Alex Jones does and the people in his organization does, or his media organization. And so it was a shame that happened, but at least they found the perpetrator. So let's do this.
In the heart they gather strong.
Everyone, I want to thank you for joining Culturama today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Let's continue in taking the zeitgeist back and reclaiming it here in the United States and press forward the values of traditional Americana and cultural conservatism, everybody. Also, join the AP for Liberty shop for neat products like this. I want to thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and for the upcoming weekend. And I'll see you on Saturday for our gaming stream. But in the meantime, stay safe and stay blessed and stay talkative. I'll see you guys in the Liberty Tonight stream. And then next time on Saturday. Have a blessed night, everyone.
Planted firm, golden dreams that won't decay, marching proudly through the day. In the eagle's shadow by, we find our strength and take our pride. Let the voices echo loud, tearing through the waiting crowd. We've got the power now in the heart of every town.
We've got the power now. The Reds are going down. Across the plains and mountains tall, hear the victory call. With courage and with might we strive in the light of freedom's sky. We got the power now in the heart of every town. We've got the power now.